Hello, everyone. Welcome back to 3 News Now. I'm Stephanie Haney. It is Thursday, October 22nd, and I have your top stories from WKYC.com and the WKYC app for today. And it is a big day in news for sure. Thank you for choosing to be here to get filled in on what's impacting you here in Northeast Ohio. We start with what is truly an historic day in the U.S. Senate. The Republican-led Senate Judiciary Committee has advanced the nomination of Judge Amy Coney Barrett, and it will move to a full vote on the Senate floor. That happened this morning. Now, this is despite the fact that the Democratic senators on the committee refused to show up. They boycotted the vote in order to move her nomination out of committee because they said the Republicans are rushing to put in President Donald Trump's nominee to replace the late Ruth Bader Ginsburg. The Republicans, who have the majority in the committee, it's a 12-10 split, 12 Republicans, 10 Democrats. They voted unanimously in favor of Barrett, who is widely considered to be a conservative judge. So instead of attending, the Democrats on the committee put up posters at their desks of Americans that they say benefited from the Affordable Care Act, which is something that is now being challenged before the United States Supreme Court. And this is something that Democrats worry that Barrett will vote to invalidate very soon with that case coming up before the court. Now, Barrett, at just 48 years old, would lock a 6-3 conservative majority on the court for the foreseeable future. Now, there was a question about whether this vote would come out of committee after COVID-19 infected multiple senators in Washington, D.C., including 2 people on the committee, Senator Mike Lee and Senator Thom Tillis. But they did show up and they did vote to move Barrett's nomination forward. So now that will move to a full vote. And the Senate is planning actually to work through the weekend, which is a very rare occurrence, in order to have a full confirmation vote on the floor of the Senate on Monday. And as it stands right now, the Senate does have the votes in order to pass that nomination on Monday because only a majority is required. And only a couple Republicans said that they would not vote for Judge Barrett for that nomination because the argument being on both sides of the aisle, a difference between, and also with just a couple of Republicans, whether that vote should have waited, whether a nomination should have waited until after the election, which is coming up in just 12 days. Now, Senator Lindsey Graham, who is a Republican, who is the committee chairman, said, and he also refused COVID-19 testing, by the way, said, this is groundbreaking, this is an historic moment, and that is absolutely true because never before has the Senate confirmed a Supreme Court nominee so close to a presidential election. Now, speaking of the presidential election, news came out from our top intelligence officials yesterday about Iran and Russia interfering in the 2020 presidential election. The director of national intelligence yesterday confirmed that they believe that Iran sent multiple emails to Democratic voters in multiple battleground states, including Pennsylvania, Florida, and Arizona, with the goal of intimidating them into voting for President Donald Trump, or at least that's what the messages reported seemed to say. Now, Iran denies the allegation. Now, sources who are familiar with these emails that the intelligence department says were sent said that they were fake emails which appeared to be from the far-right group, the Proud Boys, and warned, quote, "We will come after you if the people in receipt of these emails didn't vote for President Donald Trump." Now, this might seem counterintuitive, but intelligence officials said that this was actually an effort to hurt the president in the election. It has been a concern of our U.S. government about efforts by foreign countries to influence the election, with multiple efforts by spreading false information in order to suppress voter turnout and undermine American confidence in the vote. Top U.S. intelligence official John Ratcliffe and FBI Director Chris Wray said that both Russia and Iran have obtained voter registration information in order to help do these things. Now, it is important to keep in mind that voter registration information is generally easily accessible, and there aren't any allegations that either country hacked a database for it. So no question about databases not being secure here, but what they are talking about is them using information that is accessible in order to get to people and spread misinformation. Iran, according to the officials, used the information to push out these emails, also created a video that falsely suggested that voters could cast fraudulent ballots from overseas. Again, the idea here is to sow confusion and also distrust in the results of the election, but the officials saying that any early messages about distrust in the election results should definitely be looked at with a lot of skepticism. Now, Radcliffe and Wray both said that there will be penalties for any foreign countries that interfere in the 2020 U.S. election, and that the integrity of the election is sound. And as of this point, there is no reason to assume that we can't trust the results of that election. Now, when we're talking about the election just 12 days away, tonight will be the second and final presidential debate. That will be between President Donald Trump and former Vice President Joe Biden. That's happening in Nashville tonight at 9 p.m. Potentially, the topic of what we've just learned about Iran and Russia will come up, because one of the topics to be discussed tonight is national security. The other topics to be discussed include fighting COVID-19, obviously, a national conversation about that. American families, that topic a little bit vaguer. A lot of things could fall under that category, as well as leadership, and then climate change and race in America. Something we'll also be taking a look for tonight is the use of that mute feature on the microphones. You know, the debate tonight will be 6 segments, so 15 minutes each. And at the top of each of those 6 segments, which we just outlined, each candidate will have 2 minutes to speak. And while the other candidate is speaking, the microphone of the other candidate will be muted. Here's the thing about microphones, though. A lot of people are saying we don't really know how well this is going to work, because when you're talking into a microphone directly, sure, it picks you up. But if you're talking over here, the microphone can also pick you up. So not necessarily super clear that we won't still hear outbursts and interruptions if they are happening even without a microphone directly on that candidate. So I guess only time will tell, and we'll have to see that tonight. The event will be moderated by NBC News' Kristen Welker. Again, that's happening from 9 to 10:30 p.m. You can watch that right here on 3 News on your TV, also on WKYC.com in our WKYC app, and we'll be streaming it on our WKYC Facebook and YouTube pages. Now, we have also learned, again, coming up very close on the presidential election, that the Democratic vice presidential nominee, Kamala Harris, will be visiting Cleveland on Saturday. Now, she was supposed to be in Cleveland last week, but she wasn't able to make it here. Now, we don't know the exact details of her appearance here on Saturday, but just that she does plan to be in Cleveland on Saturday. Rather than making that appearance last week because several of her staff members ended up testing positive for COVID-19, she called into a radio show on 93.1 FM WZAK. While she was on that radio show, she said, "To the people of Cleveland and to your listeners, I do believe that the road to victory travels through Cleveland and travels through Ohio." That would be in line with what has happened in the past, because only once since 1944 has a person won the presidency without winning Ohio. That was in 1960, and that was John F. Kennedy. Polls here in Ohio do show that President Donald Trump and former Vice President Joe Biden are in a virtual tie, and both of the campaigns have made stops here recently in the weeks. Vice President Mike Pence was just here yesterday in Cincinnati at the Lunken Airport. Now, according to a Quinnipiac University poll, Biden has a narrow lead in Ohio at 48% to 47%, with 4% undecided here in the state. But if you look at a Baldwin Wallace University Great Lakes poll, President Trump holds a slim lead in Ohio, 47% to 45% over Biden here in Ohio. Ohio is pretty even, which is why we're important every 4 years, and that is according to our very own Mike Polk Jr. As I just said, only one time since 1944 there's been a president that actually won without winning Ohio. So he wrote an original song about it. That was before the debate, that dumpster fire of a debate here in Cleveland a few weeks ago. It's hilarious, and you absolutely have to see it. It's on WKYC.com, also on our WKYC YouTube page, but I will warn you now, it's very catchy, and it will be stuck in your head. It's been stuck in my head for probably about 3 weeks now, but I highly recommend watching it. Now, as we're talking about politics and the division that we are seeing, we've seen sign stealing, there's been vandalism, there's arguing all over social media over-the-top displays, people in your face. There's a lot of disagreement about politics, but our Will Uick found one family that is making it work with some good-natured ribbing at each other, but also being able to talk about their disagreements. It's the Senkos family. There's Tom Senkos, who is the grandpa, and he is for the Biden-Harris ticket. Now, his grandson, Jeff Senkos, is for the Trump-Pence ticket. But what is more important to them than who they'll be voting for is to not let that come between them, which I think is a message that we could all use right now, that we all have disagreements. But at the end of the day, we are all Americans, and especially amongst your family, and it can be very difficult when you disagree with your family on political issues, but we are all Americans, and it's good to find the love for one another. So Jeff, of course, from his perspective, he says that he's in manufacturing and his customers are doing very well under President Donald Trump and things that have happened over the past 4 years. But Tom, however, who's in the Biden camp, says he is more focused on a healthcare platform and assistance for college students, and that he's pro-union, and he likes the idea of bringing some calmness to America. So they certainly have their reasons for voting their respective candidates. But no matter what the outcome of the election is, both Jeff and Tom say that they are going to mark it together at the end with having a drink together, and whoever's candidate does not win is picking up the tab. So maybe that's something that we can all look forward to. And speaking of picking up the tab, today is the day of Christmas Ale's first pour. Now, this is just a little bit earlier than it happened last year. Last year, the first pour was on October 24th. I know because I was actually lucky enough to be there last year because it was a very different set of circumstances. Well, today is Christmas Ale's first pour for the 2020 season at the Great Lakes Brewing Company right here in Ohio City, and that started at 10 a.m. this morning. Now, if you're not there and you don't already have reservations, you won't be able to be there in person, but that's going till 10 o'clock tonight. Now, we did stream the first pour, so you can find that on WKYC.com and also on our Facebook and our YouTube pages. And if you didn't get a reservation, if you won't be able to be there today, Great Lakes Brewing Company says, don't worry, their cans and draft, and also new this year, the cans are the new part. They've had bottles for a long, long time, but cans are brand new this year. So you'll be able to drink your Christmas ale in a can, and you can start picking those up from the gift shop and the brew pub on Friday at Great Lakes Brewing Company in Ohio City. That's it for your 3 News Now early update for Thursday, October 22nd. If you don't already, listen to the 3 News Now with Stephanie Haney podcast on your favorite platform. Go ahead and subscribe, give us a rating and a review. We would really appreciate it. That helps us connect with more people here in Northeast Ohio. Also, I am on the prowl for great local podcasts, so please send me your recommendations. You can DM them to me at _Stephanie Haney, and I'll be back here at 3 p.m. with your updated information from the Ohio Department of Health and also top stories from WKYC.com and our WKYC app. Everyone in the meantime, stay safe and be well. I'm Stephanie Haney.